Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital and welcome to this new fifth live stream this week. 5 days in a row. We did it. We did it together. A little bit of a different live stream today because we are going to be talking about economic data coming out. We'll be covering it live, and then we will actually talk about the markets as well. Generally what to expect from the markets, but we will also talk about some specific trading setups. Some trading setups that we spoke about yesterday evening, for example, but also for Bitcoin. I expect this news to cause quite a lot of volatility, both after the news, but also during the NYO, which is 1 hour later. I expect volatility, and volatility means opportunity. So we'll talk about that as well. But let me quickly welcome to the stream, everybody. First of all, of course. And let me quickly, first of all, let me first of all let everybody know that we are live. Yeah, okay. We're going to share it here. Here, also here and here, and then we are good to go. And we can start preparing for the news coming in. But first of all, welcome to the stream. Daniel, welcome back. Shadras, welcome. Alex, Mark, welcome. Tracy, No. Raghwendra, welcome to the stream. J21121. Hello, I am crypto, says I am too bullish. I don't think so. I'm not necessarily, naively bullish. I just think March, April, maybe May, we're going to see a little bit of bullish momentum, and then afterwards I'm bearish again. And even at this point of time, I think this whole price action that we had this week can turn into a massive fake out, and that we're going to drop back down again, right? So is that too bullish? It's slightly bullish, but it's not really bullish, right? I would say. User Mohammed, welcome to the stream. Shadik, Finn, Dogo, Parma, welcome to the stream, everybody. And welcome to this news live stream, right? Because we will be focusing on the news coming out in about 5-6 minutes right here. Non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, and retail sales. The retail sales is still from January, and generally I don't really care about retail sales. But it's also later because I think it was timed during the shutdown, the brief shutdown that we had. But ultimately I don't really care about that. I mean, the key news events that we care about is the unemployment rate. I would love to see that remain at 4.3, right? Because if the unemployment rate is lower than expected, then we can say goodbye to rate cuts in 2026. Obviously not, but that would be bearish. And if the unemployment rate is higher than expected, we're most likely going to get recession fears, and recession fears on top of everything that fundamentally has been going on already, right? I mean, oil prices are absolutely going through the roof, would be bearish. So unemployment rates, I'd like to see as expected. And then, no thank you. And then non-farm payrolls, they're allowed to be a little bit lower than expected. So we already expect non-farm payrolls and non-farm payrolls private to be slightly lower than previously. Those can be as expected. Those can be a little bit lower than expected because that would increase the possibility of more rate cuts in 2026. Now, since the situation in the Middle East escalated, the probability of getting rate cuts in 2026 has massively decreased because there's quite a lot of fear that it brings about inflationary pressures, right? And you can also see that. I think if you look at the data, like the possibility for a rate cut in April, at this point of time, that's sitting very, very low. And that used to be much higher. Like a month ago, we actually had a 30% chance at a rate cut in April. And at this point of time, it's 14%. Even a week ago, it was still 23%. And then if we look at June, you'll see quite something similar, where a week ago it was 45 and now it's 30. So to actually get some sort of news event or data coming out right here that supports more rate cuts in 2026, that can cause bullish momentum. Although I must express general skepticism about how important this news is. I think it's going to cause volatility, both after the news comes out, so in a little bit over 3 minutes, but also after the NYO, right? So the New York Open is in about an hour. Then it's also still going to cause volatility, because very often the US session really determines ultimately if news is bullish or bearish, right? So it can also be that the next hour is going to be bearish after the news, and then the NYO is going to be bullish, because Fridays have a pretty good track record, right? If you look at Fridays for Bitcoin and for crypto over the course of the last 3 months, Fridays have been pretty good. Fridays have been, almost the only day where we actually saw some bullish momentum. And you might say, well, if every Friday was bullish, then it's most likely going to turn around. Well, yes, maybe, but Fridays already were quite bullish like a couple of weeks ago. And then the last couple of Fridays were still good again as well. So it might also still be 1 or 2 Fridays that are going to be bullish before at some point of time all the Friday bulls are going to be trapped. And we're going to see a big dump, right? Weedham people, welcome to the stream. KMLNW, welcome to the stream. Ragwendra, Big Daddy, Simon, find later. Any Magic, welcome. Lift Heavy, welcome back. Siddhartha, welcome to the stream. Maruti, welcome. Good to see you all back here. We have a little bit longer right here. Ragwendra, my middle of the day market update, I've still been uploading it every day. But why it's not coming or showing on my channel, I have no idea. I mean, honestly, my views have dropped down quite significantly over the last month. But that's also because of the crypto markets, of course. But you can see here, pullback updates, volatility alert, urgent updates. I am still publishing breakout alerts, emergency update. This was Sunday, I think. Bad news coming, middle of the day market update. So I have been uploading it. And if you're not, I mean, you can always turn on notifications, right? But ultimately, I have been making them, and views are down, but that's also the markets, and that's okay. I've been through that. I've been through that quite a few times already. So for everybody tuning in a little bit later, in my opinion, the ideal news result right here would be unemployment rate as expected, retail sales higher than expected, and non-farm payrolls, private and normal, a little bit lower than expected. That would be best, in my opinion. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be volatile. The key areas, well, the key area that I'm looking at for Bitcoin is 69,000 for a potential long setup. Although I must say that I'm going to be very careful with it. But 30 seconds, we shall see. Best creature, I am definitely not fasting, but that feels like a little bit of an insult. So thank you. What app you can use to trade oil? Just your normal stockbroker. There's usually oil ETFs, etc., or funds that you can trade. Daniel, it's like either IBKR, Interactive Brokers, or Trading 212. Okay, we're going to get the news right now, so let's see what we're going to get. Hopefully it updates relatively soon and we can see what we are going to get. I'm tempted to refresh the data right now. We're slowly seeing the data come in. Retail sales month on month is a little bit lower than expected. Non-farm payroll was much lower than expected. Okay, we want it a little bit lower than expected. With minus 86,000 is very low. Non-farm payrolls themselves expected 59,000, actual minus 92,000. I would almost expect that the unemployment rate is going to be higher than expected then as well. We wanted lower non-farm payrolls. Unemployment rate higher than expected as well. This is tricky. This is very tricky because I told you I want to see a little bit of pressure on the jobs market, but I don't want to see a lot of pressure because historically, if there's a lot of pressure on the jobs market, that can cause recession fears, and recession fears, believe it or not, are bearish for the financial markets, of course. So I cannot say that I'm happy about this news, honestly. The order flow at this point of time, let me quickly refresh this so we can actually see we can see orders coming in live. Wow, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy data, to be fair. We have some shorts coming in, but the shorts at the moment are getting absorbed. So the market reaction for crypto has not been too bad. Some people in the comments are telling me that the S&P 500 is down quite a bit. S&P 500 is not really doing anything, right? It's not too bad, as the market is... any magic short on Solana at the moment? I would say no, or at least I personally don't have any shorts on Solana open at this point of time. But I'm also not necessarily interested in that. I still have a Bitcoin short open, and that's it. But yeah, so for everybody tuning in a little bit later, and you care about this news, we just got some pretty shocking news, honestly. Non-farm payrolls were much lower than expected. Expected was 59,000. Actual data is minus 92,000. So that's a massive miss. I'm not certain when the last time was I saw such a massive miss on the non-farm payrolls or on any data in general. And the non-farm payrolls private are also much lower than expected, but it's practically the same. And then the unemployment rate is also higher than expected. Now, the market at this point of time is pretty cool about it, and it's not too bearish. But I'm not sure how the NYO is going to be after this. I cannot be super bullish after that news, honestly. So the market at this point of time is still holding on fairly well. S&P 500 is relatively flat. Gold is up slightly. The dollar is down slightly. Yeah, so I guess it's my best guess right now is that we will see a real market reaction when the NYO happens, when the US session opens. Because at this point of time, it's quite crazy. Volatility index is up quite a lot, though. Look at the volatility index. Damn. I understand this. I mean, it's yeah, it's bearish news. I would say this is bearish news. The market might not look that bearish at this point of time, but that doesn't mean that it's good news. I mean, the thing is that okay? Pressure on the jobs market in the United States. I'm okay with that from a financial market perspective. Obviously, it's a sad thing in general, and it always feels a little bit double when I say that we want pressure on the jobs market. Obviously, we don't want that for the people. But when we are strictly talking about financial markets, that is usually better. But you want it to be gradually trending down, so that the Federal Reserve Board says, okay, the jobs market is getting a little bit more tense. We might need to lower rates to make it a little bit better and to stimulate the economy. But if the job market does something like this, and the unemployment rate is 0.1% higher than expected, non-farm payrolls are much lower than expected. I mean, I can show you non-farm payrolls over the last period of time. Like we also had December the 16th. We also had something like this, right? So where the actual data was much lower than the consensus data. And let's see what we did December the 16th. I'm quite interested in that. December the 16th. On the news, we actually didn't do that much. We actually moved up slightly, then pushed down, and it did not really influence the markets that much afterwards. So hopefully that will be the same right now. We're actually seeing a little bit of strength right here even, where shorts are getting absorbed. But like I said, the real reaction is going to be with the NYO. And at the moment, I don't trust any of the price action I see coming in. And the price action that we do see coming in at this point of time is also quite low volume. And I would argue quite leveraged as well. Yeah, quite leveraged, right? So right here. Let me look at some other data. Yeah, so the news is bad. News is bearish, I would say. But the market reaction so far has been fine. The exact name of the volatility index chart is the volatility S&P 500 index I use. But yeah, I mean, this ultimately that like for everybody tuning into the live stream a little bit later, to do a quick summary here, the news that we had is that the unemployment rate is higher than expected, and outside of that, the non-farm payrolls were much lower than expected, which generally, summarizing that data release, it means that there has been much more pressure on the job market in the United States in February, in the last month. And that generally is seen as something that is bullish for the financial markets, but not when it's too much. And I think there is a real risk that this was too much. So the market right now, I don't trust any of this. I mean, it's just very volatile at the moment. I think in about 50 minutes, so when the US market opens, I think that's when we will see the real reaction. And I think the best thing we can do right now about the markets, sticking with Bitcoin, is just to be reactive. For me, there's two main areas that I'm watching on Bitcoin right now, and that's either 70,800. If we break above 70,800, we have a fair value gap there, structure break. That is a potential long, although this is very risky. I mean, the confluences on this are not amazing. But something like this is a possibility. And I know the news is bearish, so why am I talking about longs? Well, I say this after almost every news event, but sometimes bearish news causes a bullish move, and sometimes bullish news causes a bearish move, right? So ultimately, this news is bearish, I think, and it's not great. However, the market is always right? So if the market now gets a bullish breakout still above 70,800, I will probably still buy. And the other level to the downside that I think you should pay attention to is right here at 69,000. 69,000, we have the previous month VWAP and the 7-day rolling VWAP. NYO is probably going to be quite volatile. But if we get something like this, like if we push down into that level and get some sort of a reclaim like this, I think that's a buying opportunity as well. So honestly, at the moment, I mostly see buy opportunities and not really short opportunities. I think shorting in general right now is quite tricky. Because if you're shorting right now, like we have strong support quite close by, and there's not an obvious stop loss above the price, at least for Bitcoin, right? So at least for most altcoins, and then there's going to be bullish altcoins, there's going to be bearish altcoins. That's always the case. So there will be shorts worth taking, of course. But I'm talking about the market in general right now. So we shall see. It's at least a very interesting result. And how the US market is going to react, it's going to be very interesting, I think. User Zcash long, no. After news like this, no. If we get some decent price action here, yeah. But at the moment, no. Research on dual investment features. What do you mean with dual investment features? You mean long one asset, short another one? Because I do have some thoughts about that. Mr. Capella, why I never talk about the Clarity Act? I do talk about the Clarity Act. I just hit my microphone on the table. I do talk about it. I usually talk about it in my longer term predictions and longer term updates. Because it's a little bit speculative, right? I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, so then I will also not talk about it. But I have mentioned it in my long-term updates as something that can cause bullish momentum or bearish momentum, because there has been quite a lot of it has been controversial, right? With Jamie Dimon saying something about Ben Armstrong, etc., and then Ben Armstrong going to the White House talking with Trump, Trump posting about the Clarity Act and about banks. After that meeting, so it's controversial, and I cannot really say anything that is that adds any value to what you already know, because it would be speculation, I think. Beatrice, yes, I am going to wait for the market open, not in this live stream, if you meant that, but I'm going to wait for that for potential setups. Like right now, Zcash is at an interesting level. This is the level that we also spoke about in my live stream yesterday. I think 69,000 for Bitcoin is also an interesting level, but I first want to see how the NYO goes, and then if we kind of know what's happening, how the fundamentals look, and how the stock market is opening, then I'll know more, and maybe then I'll open a trade, but I'll have to see. Finn, fetch buy price. I wouldn't buy fetch at the moment, I think. Unfortunately. Lift heavy. Is the bearish news just overshadowed by the war, and maybe that's why we aren't reacting yet? Yes, possibly. Possibly it just doesn't matter that much as the other fundamentals, and that the market is reacting primarily to the other fundamentals. That is a possibility. Yes. Ragwendra, did you watch all of my educational videos already then? I have a ton. I have a lot of educational videos on the channel through the years. So if you're through with that, let me know. Maybe you already are. Take a guess. Where will be the bear market bottom? Well, I've thought about this long and hard. Nice scribble there. I've thought about this quite often, but generally, like if I would really have to say, okay, worst case scenario, this is what we're going to drop down into, I would say 32,000. I think we can drop down into. That is worst case scenario, though. This might sound naive, and that's fine, but I think there's even a scenario where we just bottom out right here, so that we do something like this potentially into the mid 50s, reclaim, and then get bullish momentum from here. This is not impossible. I don't think this is most likely, right? I do think it's most likely that we're going to push down into the 50s, 40s, 30s. But it's not impossible to create a bottom right here, and it's definitely something you shouldn't forget, I think. Mohammed, are we not too oversold on Bitcoin? Yes, I think generally yes, but I think this range was oversold, and that does mean that we can get back into the range, right? Get back into the range and then still being oversold and still not dropping down lower. You know, we were oversold here, but maybe after that bullish momentum that we had this week, we no longer were oversold, and we need to get back into that area. Yeah, Maruti, make a video on the CoinGlass liquidation heat map. I honestly think that's a little bit worthless. It's not real liquidations. It's an algorithm. It's based on previous data, so it can tell you a lot about relevant levels, etc. But I don't think you need it really to understand where the price is going and where liquidity is. I mean, I can already tell you right now, if I look at the chart where it will tell me there's liquidity, there's probably a bunch of there's probably a bunch of liquidation right here. There's probably some liquidation right here, some here, and then a bunch of liquidation right here. That's fine, right? You don't need that. It's just another tool to create key levels, but generally it's not real liquidation levels, right? I mean, real information, lifetime information about where people are going to be liquidated is not information that's freely given. Yeah. Mr. Capella, can Clarity Act change everything on crypto? I don't think so. I think both results are fairly priced in at the moment. Order flow on TradingView. On TradingView, it's not really possible, in my opinion. You can see it on Kiyotaka, which is right here. You can see it on CoinGlass, which is right here. TradingView, not so much. Fabric Protocol is not doing too great, Truus. Could be. Yeah, not doing too great. No, we got that move into the upside, but that was it. And then we got the Binance spike, and that was it. But yeah, I mean, this was... I made a review on it, of course. And back then I said, you know, I don't really see any real utility or real value behind this project. So it can still be tradable. And I do think there's some interesting support levels coming up. But yeah, it's yeah. It's not looking great now, indeed. Okay, so before we before we end the live stream right here, and I'll get to working on the middle of the day market update. The news that we had generally, I would say, is bearish. It's bearish because it was too good, okay? Because the unemployment rate is higher than expected. Non-farm payrolls are much lower than expected. Generally, that's in the right direction. That's pressure on the job market, which is what we want. But if it's too much, that's bearish, because that creates fears for a recession, and that's not great. In 45 minutes, the US session opens, and that will tell us the real direction and what the market really thinks about this, because more volume will come in, and more volume means more market participants, and the more market participants we get, the closer we get to the truth. Okay, and truth in this instance, in this scenario, is will the market go up or down, right? That is what will tell us whether this news will be bearish or bullish in the history books. But for now, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, key areas to watch on Bitcoin are 69,000 and 70,800. But be careful with trading today. It's going to be difficult. And although Fridays have been very good the last 3 months, that doesn't mean that this one will be as well. So thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the live stream. I will see you all in my middle of the day market update, which will be online in about 1.5 hours. So keep an eye on the channel for that. But for now, thank you for tuning in, everybody. It was a fun time again. And I will publish my live stream schedule for next week over the course of the weekend. So keep an eye on the Telegram, X, YouTube, wherever for that. For those of you who don't follow me on X already, make sure to do that. It's at cilinixfxcapital as expected. And hopefully I'll see you there. But for now, thank you for watching.